हेलो।
Belum ada suaranya ya? Mulai ya guys.
Welcome to the International Conference of Muslim English Literature 2023. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Excellency, Honorable the Dean of Adab and Humanities Faculty, Mr. Dr. Ade Abdul Haq. The Excellency, Honorable the Chairperson of this conference, Ms. Hasnul Insani Johar, PhD. The Excellency, Honorable all of the invited speakers, distinguished guests, and all participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Putri Anggraini, the second semester of English Literature Department, as Master of Ceremony of opening session. Good morning and warm welcome to the International Conference on Muslim English Literature 2023. Pardon? This conference, organized by Adab and Humanities, Sharif Hidayatullah State Islamic University of Jakarta. Pardon me. We are delighted to have you join us today as we embark on a remarkable journey into the world of Muslim English literature. For those who are not involved, please ensure that your microphone is mute during this session. And now, allow me to read the structures of today's occasion. The first, opening session. The second, recitations of the Holy Quran. The third is the singing of the national anthem, Indonesia Raya, and hymn UIN Jakarta, which be followed by dua, and then welcoming speeches by the chairperson of the conference and the dean of the Faculty of Adab and Humanities. Next, the presentations by invited speakers, which be followed by parallel sessions, discussions, and finally closing. Now, as we embark on this enlightening journey, let us begin with a moment of serenity and reflection. We are honored to have a talented reciter who will grace us with a melodic recitation of the Holy Quran by Nabila Tuzolfa Faiha. Nabila, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu idza qila lakum tafassahu fil majalis Idza qila lakum tafassahu fil majalisi fafsahu yafsahillahu lakum. Wa idza qila شذوذا يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير والله بما تعملون خبير صدق الله العظيم. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sadaqallahul Azim. Thank you, Nabila, for that soul-stirring recitation. Next up, let us all rise and stand up to proudly sing the national anthem, Indonesia Raya, and hymn of UIN Jakarta. Please rise.
Sana
You may all be seated again. Now, let us commence with a moment of serenity and reflection. Together, we gather in prayer, invoking the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon this conference and its participants. Led by our esteemed reciter, Mr. Dr. Saifuddin. Mr. Saifuddin, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear ladies and gentlemen, let us bow our head to pray, asking God to make the event run smoothly. For those of other religion or non-Muslim, please adjust to your respective faith and belief. For those of you who are Muslim, let's start this prayer by reciting Surah Al-Fatihah. Al-Hadiniyah Al-Fatihah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا الشاكرين حمدا الناعمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافي مزيده يا ربنا لك الحمد ولك الشكر كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم ولعظيم سلطانك اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. Ya Allah, Ya our Lord, all praise and gratitude we extend to your presence for all the graces and gifts. All praise and gratitude we extend to your presence for all the grace and gift that you have bestowed and all the favors that you have given us. At this time, you met us at the International Conference on Muslim English Literature. For that, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, make this event an event you are pleased, you are blessed, you give your tawfiq and guidance so that this event runs smoothly and bring blessing and benefit to us. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbana, Ya Kareem, may the momentum of this international conference be used as a door and way for the fall of your mercy and grace for us in carrying out the duties of this beloved country, which is your mandate, namely as servants of the state and servants of the community, so that we can carry out our tasks in providing services to the community as well as possible, full of responsibility and high spirit for the realization of the vision and mission of our organization. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, give us strength so that we are able to carry out our very heavy load, but it has become our determination and commitment to carry out this task and mandate to the best of our ability and with all our hearts. For that, we ask you to give us physical and spiritual strength, strengthen the sense of unity and oneness in our heart. Do not separate us. Keep us away from the hatred and enmity between us for the sake of realizing intimacy, brotherhood, harmony, peace, cohesiveness, and tranquility within us. Ya Allah, Ya Haq, the great Lord, shine the light of truth in our heart, in our ears, in our eyes, in our tongues, and in all our bodies, so that we may see the truth as right and be able to follow it, and be able to see that what is wrong, and be able to stay away from it. Show us the straight path. Show us the straight path, the path of those whom you are pleased with, not the path of those who go astray and those with whom you are angry. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Saifuddin, for your presence and participations in this heartfelt prayer. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that we extend a warm welcome to the esteemed chairperson of the conference. Let's pay attention to our honored chairperson, Mrs. Hasnul Insani Johar, PhD. Ms. Hasnul, the time is yours.
Ya, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain, amma ba'du. Alhamdulillah, I'm so happy to see you all. This is our second MELA, Muslim English Literary Association International Conference. And I would like to extend my gratitude, my honor to our honorable, the Dean of our Faculty Adab and Humanities, Fakultas Adab Humaniora UIN Jakarta, Professor Ade Abdul Haq, and also my gratitude and so happy to see you all, our keynote speaker, first Professor Sujauddin Suja from Central Gujarat, India, and second Professor Arif Rahman Hakim from University of Gajah Mada, and Professor Asma Al-Zaina from University of Cairo. Well, before we start to listen to our keynote speaker, I just would like to remind you all the history of our MELA, Muslim English Literary Association, and the urgency to develop this MEL or Muslim English literature is in order to participate in larger debates of post-colonial studies which aim to question the legacy of colonialism and Orientalism, and now the Joseph Massad Western liberalism, which tend to project Islam and non-Western as despotic, backward, and oppression in order to make the white supremacy better, or think they have freedom and they have modernity. So this is important to develop our MEL or MELA to have a strong and solid community that we have established through our association, MELA or Muslim English Literary Association. So MELA was established last year, 2022, and 1 year after we established our first MELA journal in 2021. Thus, to make our MELA community stronger, we strongly encourage you all to join our MELA membership by only paying, let's say, 10,000 per year, and you will have MELA benefits. First, you will have MELA forum every 3 months, and then the speaker, the keynote speaker, is the expertise in Muslim English literature. And second, you will have opportunity to present your paper or at our MELA annual conference, which is now our second MELA conference, and next year is our third MELA conference, which is around maybe 20 June. Yeah, I think 20 June 2024. And then thirdly, you can publish your papers in our MEL journal or Muslim English Literature journal, which will be registered to Scopus this year, inshallah. So I will share all the website, first our MEL journal and also the website of our MELA community, so you can, hopefully you can join membership soon. Especially we provide this conference free for you, and hope you will have the same bond with us to develop our MEL association. So an important thing is when you become the member of MELA, your short video will be published on our website, on our MELA website. So it will help you to find scholars who have same interests and expertise with you in order to collaborate in research and publication. I will share the website on the chat box after this. So you can click join membership and fill in G form, where you can upload both your picture and proof of the payment, and importantly your short bio, in order to engage with other scholars who are interested in this Muslim English Literary Association. And yeah, I think we will see you next Mela Forum on 20 and September. The keynote speaker, we will invite the keynote speaker expertise in this field, Muslim English literature. So after you join our Mela community and further information, please contact Mela email. I will share in the chat box. And I think that's all for me. And I'm so happy to see you all. Hopefully we can meet every 3 months. And then every year we have, sooner or later, we will have like offline conference, not only via Zoom, so we can get more bonding, inshallah. So thank you so much for your time, for your interest to present in this international conference, Mela conference, and hopefully our community get growing and growing, inshallah. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hasnul, for your welcoming speech. And now, please welcome Mr. Dr. Ade Abdul Haq as the Dean of our faculty to deliver his welcoming speech. Mr. Ade, the time is yours. Pardon me. Pardon me. And now, please welcome Mr. Dr. Ade. Mr. Dr. Ade Abdul Haq as the Dean of our faculty to deliver his welcoming speech. Mr. Ade, the time is yours.
It's
Okay. Thank you, Putri. My sound is clear?
Yes,
Hello?
Prof. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Excellencies, dear college, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for being here with us. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to Muslim English Literature or MEL International Conference held by English Literature Department at UIN Jakarta, Indonesia. Especially thank you for the keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Sejauddin Kaparban. Is it right, my spelling? Okay. It's from Central University of Gujarat, India, or Professor Dr. Asma Kazinsi from Al-Azhar University, and for Professor Dr. Muhammad Ali Rahman from Universitas Gajah Mada, and all of invited speaker who has been with us for this international conference. But don't forget for the committee, yeah, for preparing this conference. Well, as Ms. Hasnul stated, that Mel was born at UIN Jakarta in 2020, when we revised our curriculum by including 4 main modules. Maybe the first, Muslim Global Literature, the second, Women's Literature of the Ummah, and third, Islamic Literature Critics, and fourth, Transactional Islamic Writing. So the urgency to develop MEL is to participate in the larger debates in post-colonial studies, which aim to question the legacy of colonialism and Orientalism, which tend to project Islam and non-Western as sporting backward and operation to maintain white supremacy or European empires. We have mail journal that established in 2021. It specializes in Muslim world literature, including that U.S. Muslim, British Muslim, Asian Muslim, and other Muslim culture and literature. And it is intended to communicate original research and current issues on the subject. This journal warmly welcomes contribution from scholar or related discipline, including linguistic and cultural studies related to the Muslim world. As a media communication, Mail has responsible to share UIN's vision that has been a mandate transformation from EIN to UIN. The implication of the transformation from institute status EIN to university UIN provide more responsibility for lecturers and other academic community members in development of scientific integration. UIN Jakarta is expected to encourage the integration of science, but in the field of religion and humanity. It has been the objective to produce graduates who have integrative, responsive, and adaptive insight to be modern and progressive thoughts of science and defined by faith. So for this reason, there must be an effort on how to implement the principle of values of the Quran in this journal, maybe in the others still dominated by scholar theories. So in this case, the Quranic values are not contrary to the existing secular theories, but rather the ultimate goal of communication science itself as a more immanent and transcendent science to add more faith. Therefore, the principle should be applied to prevent irregularities in mediated communication. That is bear by Mahbub that Quranic principle of communication, persuasive and linguistic, and thoughts the communication principle in the method of da'wah. I mean, yeah, this is what should the same be applied, but in fact, the solemn, there are still many communication in preaching do not consider the Quranic principle of persuasive communication and linguistic communication as suggested maybe especially to the non-consideration of universal values such as the value of humanization, amar ma'ruf, liberation, nahi munkar, and transcendent. Tu'minu billahi, as said in al-ayah, kuntum khairu ummah ukhrijat linnas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna bil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. So the purpose of the humanization is to elevate humans after experiencing the humanization. Humans are discerned partially, so the nature of humanity itself is large, while the goal of liberation is to liberate people from social structure that are unfair and do not side with the weak, while the transcendence aims to cleanse itself by reminding the transcendental dimension that has become part of human aims to cleanse itself by reminding the transcendental dimension that has become part of human nature. So humanization and liberation efforts must be carried out as a manifestation of peace because God commands humans to organize social life fairly. So we invite scholars to publish their work in Mail Journal. Please kindly visit our website at https journal.winjakarta.ac.id. Yeah. And then in this our special occasion, I also declare open for the male international campaign by saying basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for your participation and please enjoy this conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ade Abdul Haq, for the wonderful insight. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to introduce our esteemed moderator for the first section, an accomplished authority in the field of Muslim English literature. We are honored to have Mr. Agus Suryadi, MPD, here today to guide us through these engaging programs. His extensive knowledge and profound insight in this field will undoubtedly enrich our discussions. Thank you for your attention. I'm Putri Anggraini, as Master of Ceremony opening session. Permission to take my leave. And I hand it over to Mr. Agus Suryadi as moderator for the session on presentations by invited speakers. Please welcome Mr. Agus Suryadi, MPD. To Mr. Agus Suryadi, the room is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Putri. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Can you listen to me clearly?
Yes, clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're happy, especially personally, I'm happy among the greatest person in this morning in our conference, international conference, Muslim English Literature. Honorable, our keynote speaker, Professor Saujodin Najamuddin from Central University of Gujarat. Dr. Asma Al-Zini from Al-Azhar University, Cairo. Dr. Muhammad Arif Rahman from Gajah Mada University. Our featured speakers, Dr. Asma Char from Exeter, and also the special one is Hasnul Johar, PhD from graduated from Exeter too, and now is her duty in FAH UIN Jakarta. And also over there, our Dean, Pak Ade, thank you so much for your opening. So we want to begin this discussion. The first one we accomplish first with Professor Saujodin. We will give you 15 minutes to present about your topic. And then we continue directly to Dr. Asma Al-Zini, 15 minutes, and also Dr. Muhammad Arif Rahman to explain what your topic, and then directly to the audience, giving some question to interact our discussion. Okay, time is yours, Professor Saujodin from Central University, Gujarat.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Waalaikumsalam.
A very fresh good morning to all of you. Honorable President, respected Dean of the School of Adab and Humanities, Professor Hassanul, my fellow speakers, Dr. Asma, Dr. Ali, and all the colleagues and friends. It's indeed my pleasure, and I take it as an opportunity to speak on this wonderful and very interesting topic of Muslim literature in English, or you may call it as a Muslim English literature. So this particular category requires proper conceptualization, because there are a couple of reasons why I really like this literature. Not just because I'm a Muslim, but this literature has a huge potential because of its diversity, because of its uniqueness, because of its appealing themes, which has posed various themes across the discourses in humanities, including social sciences. Today, what I will be speaking on the global Muslim diaspora and its literature has both the theme which are being discussed throughout this particular discourse which is emerging, that is the global Muslim diaspora literature. It has ingredients from both humanities and social sciences. So this particular theme of the Muslim literature was not being academically conceptualized because of various reasons, but I'm happy and I must congratulate the Faculty of Adab and Humanities, University Islam Negeri Sharif Hidayatullah Jakarta, for coming up with this unique and timely chosen topic. This literature Muslim literature, is diverse in nature, produced by both Muslims and non-Muslims, about Muslims from various languages, time period, and nations. It's about both exotic, polemic, propagandist, as well as the realist. Now the question comes, can the literature about Muslims also be a part of Muslim literature? If you ask me, I would say yes. We may have a discussion over this question later. So before I move to Muslim diaspora literature, I would like to highlight two important points which I felt need to be discussed before I move to Muslim diaspora literature, which is a part of the broader category called the Muslim literature. And then Muslim English literature, of course, is also one of the important components of this Muslim literature. So this particular idea of Muslim literature has two natures. One is global, another one is world. World literature and the global literature. So when you talk about the world literature, the literature produced in the various languages of Muslims, let us say Malayalam in India or Sindhi in Pakistan. This literature, there is a literature produced by Muslims in these languages, but it is not having the global orientation. It is not having the global visibility. Therefore, this is a part of world literature, and the global literature is something in terms of its appeal, readership, target audience, language, etc. For example, literature in English is by default global of its for its acceptance and the readership. But when it comes to the literature produced in the regional languages by Muslim, doesn't have the global, appeal. It may have the global appeal, but it is limited because of its language, because of its scope, its thematic orientation, its readership. So when you talk about Muslim literature, there is a need to consider both the global as well as world literature into its definition. Diaspora is also leading many Muslim-speaking languages such as Bahasa Indonesia to become global because of the spread of Indonesians due to growing international migrations across the globe. So there is this always need to look at the literature which is also produced in the regional languages, to consider it or to give adequate attention to this literature which is produced in the regional languages and not being counted as the Muslim literature as in compared to literature produced by Muslims in English, Arabic, Urdu, or other similar languages, which are mostly the dominant and the major spoken languages among the Muslim communities. So this is the slight concern that I wanted to highlight. Then I will move to what is diaspora Muslim literature, or Muslim literature from diaspora, or in diaspora, or of diaspora. This particular Muslim diaspora literature is also written in various regional and also international languages across the nationalities. Not only from the, if we talk about Muslim diaspora, of course, we come to know the image of Indians or some Pakistanis or Bangladeshis or Indonesians living in the USA, Canada, Australia, Europe, so and so. Yes, of course, you can talk about it. But there is also need to give attention to the literature produced by, let us say, Indonesians migrating to India or Indians migrating to Indonesia. This is also called a diaspora literature. For example, there is also literature produced by Sudanese migrating to Gulf countries. So the kind of understanding that we have in our
Your connection is not too good, Prof.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, it's buffering.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah, clear enough. Can continue.
Or should I change the internet? Is it fine, moderator?
Yeah, clear enough now.
Yeah, thank you. So I was trying to highlight the fact that there are possibilities and there are realities that literature produce from the West, and there is also literature produced from the rest of the world. For example, Sudanese in the Gulf countries, or the Indians, or the Pakistanis, the Bangladeshis within this subcontinent. There is also literature produced, and we need to give attention to this literature as well when we talk about the diaspora literature. Yeah, this diaspora literature of Muslims can also be subdivided into Indo-American Muslim diaspora literature, British Pakistani Muslim diaspora literature, or the Australian Indonesian Muslim diaspora literature. Similarly, this will go on like Arab American Muslim diaspora literature, and so on. And there is a huge corpus of writing produced by the Muslims as well as non-Muslims about the Muslims living in the West as well as in the other countries. And that literature can also be called as a Muslim diaspora literature. I'll come to that point where the non-Muslims have also written about the diasporic experiences of Muslims in the West. But when you talk about, as I said, there is the visibility of Muslims in the West, for example, and although this visibility is not that huge, why does this diaspora Muslim literature emerge? Because of the growing number of Muslims in the West. And this growing number is not discursive. It's not more than 5%. If you look at in the Europe, it's just around 4%. If you look at the USA, it's a 1%. And in Australia, 3.2%, and in Canada, 4.9%. This is the percentage of Muslims in these regions. But despite this, there is a huge debate about the Muslims' presence in these countries. There are many recent incidents, like since starting from 9/11, the attack on World Trade Center in 2001. Then you have subsequent events like 7/7 London bombing, Paris bombing, Charlie Hebdo incidents, Salman Rushdie incidents, and lot many incidents that have taken place, or the ban on hijabs in France and so on. So things have brought the subject of Muslims and the Muslim migrants into the contemporary debates and discussions in humanities and social sciences. This has given a fresh insight into the subject of Muslims in the West. So therefore, you could find that there is literature also being produced by the Muslim diaspora about the living experiences of Muslims in the West. And this literature is not only written in English, but also written in French, German, Swedish, of course, English, and other European languages, to reach out to the maximum audience and to resist the dominant discourses about the Muslims, which has been negatively portrayed in the dominant discourses. So therefore, these people started writing in their respective languages, including English language. Of course, there is also literature produced. The diaspora literature is also produced in the languages that Muslims speak at their home. For example, Arabic, Urdu, Hindi, Malayalam, Bengali, and so on. So translation generally plays an important role in reaching out the literature which is produced in our regional languages as well. So, and the percentage that I've quoted earlier about the presence of Muslim, which is very meager percentage, starting from 1% in USA to maximum 4% in the Europe. This percent is a very small percent, but this has been projected as if it's a huge, there is a huge flux of migrants from Muslim countries to the West. But this percentage, this data is from Pew Research Center, and this data is talking about Muslim presence in these countries. But this also includes the native people of Muslim of these countries. For example, as the African slaves in the USA, laborers and traders in the Australia, European Turks, the Tatars in the Eastern Europe, Lipka Tatars, Mudejars, Moriscos in Spain, Moros, Cartados, Crimean Khanates in Ukraine, Lithuania, Pomaks and Valhads in Greece, Turks and Romani Muslim, Bosniak, Torbes, Bektashi in Macedonia and Bulgaria and Albania and so on so places. So there are also Muslims, autochthonous Muslims, the native Muslims in these countries. So the percentage that I've quoted also includes the native speakers, native population of Muslims of these countries. So there is no exact data. There is a very less data available on the how many Muslim migrants are there in these countries. So what data we have is of Pew's data, Pew Research data, which has both the components of Muslim as an immigrant, Muslim as a native. And why I have chosen this topic to discuss about the Muslim diaspora literature, because Muslims are double marginalized and discriminated in the West, because one as a being immigrant, another one as a being Muslim migrant. And if you look at the data, another data produced by International Union for Scientific Study of Population, then you would see that how the sentiments of people is existed in these societies against the immigrants in general and Muslim immigrants in particular. For example, take an example of Czech Republic. 27.5% of Czech Republic people say no to immigrants, but 59% Czech Republican people says no to Muslim immigrants. So similarly, I have a whole data about these countries. If anyone interested, I can share this with you. I'll move to the next part of the politics of numbering in the diaspora, Muslim diaspora studies, how this percentage of Muslim is being projected as something which might quote and unquote change the demographic landscapes of these societies. And therefore you have the whole debate and the rise of right-wing and far right-wing politics and politicians who have mobilize the European and the Western masses against Islam, particularly starting from the Ku Klux Klan to Pegida and the Act for America and so on. So organizations, you must be familiar with the Geert Wilders and other far right politicians who try to mobilize people against Islam's. By saying that Islam is hijacking and trying to change the demographic and the cultural landscapes of the West. I would like to highlight another important point, but I say since the time is running, I wanted to highlight the concept of hijrat, the migration within the Islamic teachings. For example, the hijrat of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his followers. There are many hadiths which talks about the migration of Prophet and his followers. There is also, when I talk about the diaspora literature, I try to trace the poetry from this particular period of Prophet Muhammad's migration from Mecca to Medina, and how the poetry was produced, by Sahabas, especially by Hazrat Bilal, who used to recite some of the poems in the memory of Mecca. So when I talk about the diaspora literature, Muslim diaspora literature, I try to trace my beginning from this particular point. When I talk about the migration, Muslim migration, I try to look at the migration of Hijrat-e-Ruhani, how the human souls migrated from Alam-e-Arwa to the world. And there are many references, around 54 references in Quran about the return of this soul to its final destination, the ultimate home for all the beings. So this is the one of the important point that I wanted to highlight, and how there are also various types of hijrats, hijrat-e-dunyavi, hijrat-e-ilmi, hijrat-e-dini or tablighi, how there are hadiths for the hijrat-e-dini and tablighi, and also some of the scholars like Sayyid Ali Hussaini Sistani, who talks about the At-Tarub Ba'd al-Hijra, which means becoming sure of one's percepts of faith after migrating. So these are scholars looking at the contemporary situations where the situations are not appropriate to practice one's deen, so they suggest to return back to Darul Islam from Darul Harb. And similar kind of theme is also depicted in the most of the novels which are produced after 9/11. For example, The Reluctant Fundamentalist by Mohsin Hamid and the Khalid Hussaini's Kite Runner, and The Home by H.M. Naqvi. So in these novels, you find that after 9/11, there was anti-Islamic, sentiments among the Americans, and there were Islamophobic attacks, the backlash on Muslims, the discriminations, and so human right abuse, and they were not comfortable to practice their religious and cultural norms. Therefore, if you look at most of the characters in these novels, they return to their respective homelands by leaving the American dream behind. I think there are many examples about the starting of diasporic literature, not just starting from this 9/11. I have tried to trace the, as I said, starting from Prophet Muhammad to the spread of Islam across the continents. And when the spread of Islam was happening, I tried to trace the autobiographies, travelogues, especially the rihalas, the safarnamas, the travelogues, as one of the beginning point of the interactions of Muslims with non-Muslims. And I have the information. If anyone is interested, I can share with him or her. I think if the chair permits, can I take 2 more minutes? How much time do I have?
Yeah, 3 more minutes, Prof.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I have, as I said, I tried to look at the safarnamas, the rihalas, and the travelogues by starting from Ibn Jubair to Rifa al-Tatwi and Abdul Razak, Samarkandi, Ahmad, and Ibn Battuta, and many, scholars and scholars of that time, travelers of that time, including Mahe, the Chinese mariner and explorer. Then coming back to the subcontinent, travels of Mirza Ihtishamuddin, Mirza Abu Lutfullah, and Sheikh Din Muhammad. The travels of Sheikh Din Muhammad is one of the important write-up from the subcontinent, first written text in English by a Muslim in the subcontinent. The travels of Sheikh Din Muhammad talks about the experiences of Muslim in the UK, England, and how he interacted and what is his expressions and perceptions about the Western culture. So this is one of the important texts. Then we have literature of immigranti, particularly the literature produced by the Moroccans, the Maghrebi Muslims who migrated to the southern Europe because of its geographical proximity. So you have writings of Muhammad Zafzaf from Morocco, Tahir Ben Jalon, who is again Moroccan French, Abdullah Lorry from again Moroccan, and you have Asia Dajabar, and so. So we have also Abdul Rahman Al-Fatih, a poet of migration, a Moroccan poet who has written his Arrive at Bay and the Drama of Immigration. So these are some of the writing produced in the French as well as English language through translation there, and you have also many writing coming up with in German language, Arabic language, English language. You have writers like of course Salman Rushdie, Orhan Pamuk, H.M. Naqvi, Jamila Gwain, Ali Smith. These are the writers. Most of these writers have bagged the important prize like DSC Prize, the Ariston Booker Prize, and so, and Nobel Prize, including Abdul Razak Gurna's work, recent works of Abdul Razak Gurna. So this particular writing needs conceptual understanding, conceptual foregrounding, and putting it together. This writing is being, scattered. It is studied under the post-colonial literature. It's studied under various national literatures and new literatures, and literature of Tanzania, or the new literatures in the UK, and so on and so things. But if you try to conceptualize under the Muslim diaspora literature, you may be able to accumulate more writers which are scattered across the various study areas, across the nations, and so on and so things. There is scholars like Layla Al-Maleh, Carol Feda Corney, and Jeffrey Nash. Some of these writers try to accumulate, try to conceptualize this idea of Muslim literature. This literature, let me just highlight some of the important points, that this literature has diversity in terms of its theme. There are various themes, we have whole travel writing, we have post-colonial literature, and this literature was also clubbed under the post-colonial literature, new literature, Arab immigrants literature, Black literature, South Asian literature, and so on, so things. But as I said, there is a need to conceptualize, and I tried to conceptualize in my PhD work, which is not yet published, but it's in the process of publication. So I tried to conceptualize this work, and you can also take up different writing which is emerging across the globe from the Muslims in the transnational space, particularly the writings of refugees, and writings like the very important writing. There is a huge literature produced on the partition of India, but there is hardly any reading of this partition literature through the lens of diaspora. There is also writing coming up with this, the Mia poetry and so on, so things. So one of the challenges, I would just like to highlight some of the challenges of this study is that we don't have the exact number of Muslim migration as such, but if you go nationwide, you would find how many Muslim migrants are there from, let us say, Indonesia. Let us say country-wise, we can have the number. And it's a very diverse, the conceptual understanding, if I call it the migration of Prophet Muhammad as a diaspora writing, some scholars might question this understanding, and they would say, how do you call it as a diasporic? Because there is no one Zion for Muslims, right? There are many homelands, and not only this worldly homeland, the homeland that we talk about in the Hijrat Ruhani. So these are some of the conceptual challenges, but if time permits, we may have exclusive discussion on this conceptual understanding. With these few words, I think I should stop here. I have exceeded my time. Sorry, Chair, for exceeding the time, but I'm open for any suggestions and questions. I did not name the various writers who have written different text intentionally, because if you Google, you would find the list of different scholars, writers who are writing diasporic literature. I wanted to highlight some of the conceptual understanding, so I tried to cover those. And if you have any questions regarding this, we will have a discussion in the Q&A session. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Prof. Sajudin, for your presentation. As we know, Sajudin telling us how huge so many areas of the literature, especially Muslim literature, that we can dig more information, like what Professor Sajudin doing with his project still running. Now we continue for your question, we can hold it first and we can continue to the next presenter. Dr. Asma Al-Jani is going to discuss present about beyond Islamophobia. Dr. Asma, you wanna sharing your PowerPoint?
Yes. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. You can directly share your point.
Yes, please.
Or Salam, can you share Dr. Asma Al-Jani's PowerPoint?
Is it now shared?
Yeah, showing now. Thank you. Time is yours.
Shall I begin?
Yeah, can you begin?
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is usually, I would like to thank everyone for this kind of invitation. I'm so happy to be part of this very important event, the MAL conference. Actually, this became something so important to discuss issues related to the literary and the linguistic points relevant to the literature of women. The topic of your conference is really important because because gender studies, all in all, in different fields of study, has become so important in the Western academia, and we should, as a Muslim world, be keeping the same interest in these studies. I don't want to forget to thank the Reverend faculty, the whole member of the faculty, the Reverend Dean, and thank you, dear sister Husn Al-Jawhar, for this invitation. And I'll go directly to the topic of my speech today. As a fellow professor was speaking about the diaspora and the importance of studying this idea, what is the need to study such kind of topics? Because Muslims nowadays are not living in Muslim countries only. Now they are spreading all over the world. They are living in the whole Western, in America, in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, different parts of the world. Out of this result, we can find topics that and ideas that came to the world that was not very active before, like the idea of Islamophobia. The title of my speech is Beyond the Islamophobia, Examining the Impact of Negative Stereotypes on Muslim Women, Spiritual Identity and Well-Being. If I were to mention the rationale behind choosing this as a title, actually I was invited in another event, invited by Birmingham University for a series of meetings with academia, some fellow academia from there. We were talking about the female spirituality in different religions, in Muslim and Christian and Jews and other religions. I discovered that the ideas that we already are so proud of as being Muslims about the Muslim woman is absolutely absent from the Western mentality. So we need to focus more on highlighting and explaining the true image of Muslim women how they are respected and how they are viewed as a very important partner, and they are playing an effective role in their societies. Actually, the Islamophobia, if I'm going to go back to the title of my presentation here, actually it is a reality that in the role of Muslim women in Muslim communities is totally different from what the Western world is viewing us. There is a great difference. I'll go directly to the title and explain the negative stereotype about Muslims and Islam has been fueled greatly by the media. The media representation and sometimes by the political rhetoric, and this all in all has led to kind of marginalization, mainly of women in non-Muslim societies. Maybe in Muslim societies that the situation is getting improved. If I'm going to speak about the situation in Egypt, the situation in Indonesia, and some other Muslim countries, the situation is improving, but mainly the ideas in this speech focuses more on the situation of women in communities where Muslims and non-Muslims are living together. Where the Muslims mainly are not the majority mainly. This media representation has led to the kind of marginalization and stigmatization of women, of Muslim women. Okay, so I'm trying to focus focus on knowing some of the reasons behind of this, and by the end of the speech, I'm going to reach to some kind of recommendation how to deal with this, and what do we need in kind of our research, in our work as researchers and academia, and how to fix or to deal with this situation. Okay. First of all, I would explain, it is very known expression, but I'm going to shed some light on the expression Islamophobia, which is defined as the fear and hatred of Islam and Muslims, and this has been, of course, in rise globally, especially after the attacks of 9/11, as Professor highlighted in his speech also, especially in the United States and in the West generally. The negative stereotype of Muslims and Islam have been fueled greatly, this Islamophobic sentiment, leading to the marginalization and stigmatization of Muslim communities. The Muslim woman in particular was a target of some attacks of hatred and mistreating and suffering, and this could be seen obviously in some fields like in education, in workplaces, in some social and some public places of dealing. Okay. Why we are studying, as I told you, why we are studying such a topic? Because this situation affects the spiritual growth and the ability of women to be as effective member of their communities as they should be. Actually, in Islam, Muslims are respected and treated as equal partners. In the Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, "An-nisa'u shaqa'iqu rijal." Women are partners of their fellow men. But the reality is totally different. How they are treated in some communities, how they take their position in some communities is totally different from the reality of true Islam. I reviewed the literature review about the idea of the impact of Islamophobia on Muslim women. And actually what has been written in this area is huge and displays how Muslim women in some Western and American communities are suffering greatly because of the Islamophobic effects on their daily life. I'll go directly to the what I discovered that as being some of the reasons behind this, if we could call phenomena or this situation or suffering of women, how this hatred, kind of hatred, affects the daily life of Muslim women. The first thing that is actually agreed on is that feeling of alienated from their religion as Muslim women reported in different means of media and writings and everything. They suffer a feeling of and a sense of being alienated from their religion due to the negative stereotype of Islam and Muslims. They reported feeling that their faith was constantly under attack. They don't feel safe about enjoying their faith, their spiritual life. Okay. Second discovery was that feeling of stigmatized. They feel that they have a stigma. They feel that they are discriminated again. They are discriminated. They are not feeling free to have their to speak about their identity and their real role in as being a Muslim. Muslim women experience Islamophobic discrimination, and this is clear mostly in some places of work, some places of some educational institutions in these communities. Usually Muslim women in the Western communities or communities where there is not a majority of Muslims, they feel living as minority. They have a feeling that they are always judged. People around them are most of the time judgmental. They don't feel free to practice whatever they want to practice. Okay. Also, they are struggling their true identity, whether being a woman, a female, or being a Muslim. These two identities are always under attack. They struggle to express this identity. Usually in the Western mentality, till this moment, women are viewed as being ignorant, in Muslim world, being ignorant, being the weak part. We are not going to deny that in some communities, somehow, to a degree, it is a failed, a male-dominated society, but not the degree to make women totally ignored and not taken care of. There are some little bit discrimination, to be honest, but not the degree that the Western mentality imagine that they are there. Nowadays, alhamdulillah, we can see in this conference, women are like keynote speakers and organizers and professors and teachers in different parts of the world. But in their mentality, for example, some of my colleagues who are finishing their PhDs and their work in the Western academia, when they arrive to their places, their colleagues, their Western colleagues were still asking them, do you still use in your country riding horses and camels? Are women totally not aware of what's going on in the world? And this is a completely wrong idea about Muslim women in our Muslim communities. Alhamdulillah, Muslim women are educated, are little bit, are every day are improving, they're participating in the fields of research and different fields of life. Also, outcome of this Islamophobic sentiment after women are struggling with their identity is the difficulty that they have and this is very clear difficulty practicing their faith. This is one of the greatest problems for maybe for Muslim women and all Muslims in some Western communities. They are struggling to practice their faith, although some governments nowadays are little bit open, but still the situation that the majority are facing this difficulty, and this is very clear in the case of Muslim women in Western community. They are having difficulty practicing their faith openly, at least. Okay, quickly, I feel that I took longer time. I'm going quickly to the recommendation of this paper. I have like 4 recommendations. The first one is that the best solution that's suggested is educating the public. We need to increase our education about Islam and Muslims to counter negative stereotypes, and this should focus on dispelling any myths about Islam and Muslims and highlighting the diversity and the agency of Muslim women. As I told that in the Hadith and the Quran, women are looked at as very respected in their communities. They are considered as being partners, and we need to educate the public. I mean, in some Muslim communities and also in the Western communities mainly. Also, we need to address Islamophobic discrimination. This is more relevant to policy takers. They need to take into consideration how to put rules that try to help Muslim women to be able to practice their identity and their religion in a more under control, not under control, in a free way. Okay. Also, we need to empower women, and this is actually starting to take place. We need to empower women in the fields of work, education, and public life generally. Also, we need to provide some kind of support because this phenomena of stereotyping and having a negative image of Muslim women actually are affecting the spiritual growth and the women's ability to practice their identities. There should be some kind of supporting programs for women to overcome this situation. I believe these are some of the reasons and the findings that I tried to explain today. I'm asking colleague, how about time? Do you still have some time to complete, or what?
Dr. Asma, your
Yeah.
voice disappeared.
Hello?
Yeah.
I was asking, still I have time, or?
If you still something to say, 1 minute.
Okay. At the end, I would like to thank you again for giving me this chance to be with you today. And I would like to thank you for choosing the topic of this conference, focusing on the issues related to the literature of Muslim women in the world nowadays, because it has become a trend in all academic fields to study, and especially for the multidisciplinary research to focus on ideas related to women and Muslim women in particular. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asma. Well, in Indonesia case, we agree that 20% of the parliament member must be women. So yeah,
Chair?
yeah, up to. 20% of parliament members must be the girls. Otherwise, our government will reject the party.
And
Okay.
also in Egypt, they are taking a very great opportunity, not by sharing a percentage, but they have the ability and the chance to take positions like these.
Yeah. So this is the girl challenge to take the opportunity. Okay, we continue to Dr. Muhammad Arif from Gajah Mada. You can preparing your PowerPoint.
Yeah,
Arif.
Thank you, Mas Agus.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Can everybody see this?
Yeah, can you full screen your PowerPoint, Arif?
Wait a minute. Which one should I press the button? Is there any button that's to press? Oh, this one, isn't it?
Yes, that button.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Good. 1 second. Okay. So my today's presentation is actually based on the kind of like the experiences and kind of reflections that I had since I was teaching English department. Yeah. So it started in probably 1993 until now. So it's a very long time. Now, I tried to kind of like formulate the models of study that took place in the department. And then after that, I'll try to probably ask questions and see why so-called comparative literature is important to kind of like one of the solutions to the question that I will ask. So I think there are probably something like 3 probably different models of study in English department. So the first one is the so-called like initial phase. Yeah. So when we study English literature, it usually refers to mostly UK or US literature. Yeah, because I think the UK is called English literature is because it's probably got to do with the English language, and mostly literature come from UK, and then US also literature is also supported by the English, and also in Gajah Mada, for instance, we have the American studies, who also, I think, probably academically or politically also support the study of American literature. Yeah. So that's very one of the important things that, because I don't know if probably at the universities in Indonesia has got like American studies. I'm not really sure. Probably only in University of Indonesia and probably University of Ahmad Dahlan. Yeah, the American studies still developed. But from my understanding, those who have a program in American studies, I mean, if students take degrees in master or PhD programs in American studies, then probably it's not probably easy to apply for position of lecturers in the English department, because the so-called like the nomenclature, the term is now has to be adapted to English literature. Yeah, so it's probably, I mean, one of the my experiences. So that one, the graduate of English department at the so-called American Studies and Masters found difficulties in getting positions in English literature because of the names of departments. So I think once in, I don't remember what year, but there has been an attempt of I think the British from the British government through British embassy, etc., try to develop this kind of British studies, probably to compete with the American studies, but they don't seem to be successful. So from the curriculum, I mean, mostly back in the 20th century, I think, English literature means that Indonesian students of literature are focusing the study on the literature of UK or US. Yeah, that's a so-called, I would call it first model. And then second model is when the English literature refers to the literature of English-speaking countries. Yeah, so it refers to like Australia, Canada, Ireland. Ireland is probably not considered separate part of UK's literature. Yeah? India, Singapore, etc. But I think most of students who wrote probably the thesis is still mostly about UK and US. Yeah. And what is interesting about it is that while we are close to Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, but our studies in the department doesn't seem to be, considering those countries or literature of those countries. So this is interesting, yeah. So we're living in Asia, I mean, Indonesian, like English department also in Asia, but I don't know if probably in different departments or programs in other universities also develop this kind of study on the literature of Southeast Asia, yeah, ones like English literature of Southeast Asia. And the third model is the model that we are having now is the inclusion of Islamic elements in the English literature. Yeah, so yeah, we can see the the development of studies on the writers from non-white and Muslim writers, immigrants who went to UK, US, and they produce literature. And they become like representation of Islamic literature or Muslim literature in those countries. So we can probably combine like, Islam's or Muslims literature in literature of English-speaking countries. So yeah, but this is a very new models. Yeah, I don't know if in Indonesia this kind of trend has been spreading. I think probably in this group like LITA, it might be developing. Yeah. But in other English departments, it's probably still something new, or I don't know, maybe like English department in like Catholic universities or Protestant university. Are they considering this kind of so-called like Muslim English literature? That's also a question, interesting question to answer. Now, from these three different models, I got questions. Yeah. The question is got to do with the ourselves. We always learn about English literature. Yeah. But do we actually neglect our own literature? So in terms of kind of like self and other dichotomy, do we study other? Yeah? Do we study English literature? Do we study Islamic, Muslim English literature, etc.? But do we sometimes think about the so-called like Indonesian literature or kind of like Islamic, Indonesian Islamic literature or Muslim literature? Yeah. And the next question is, how can we include the Indonesian values, literature, and culture and the discourse that we are studying? Yeah. And then how can a comparative model can be applied in the context of international Muslim literature from Indonesian perspective? So I would probably position myself more a specific, I would say, position in which I'm Indonesian, Muslim, and I would like to see other literatures from different countries from this perspective. Yeah. So then we should propose the comparative literature as a one of kind of like solution. Yeah. But what kind of comparative literature should be adopted? This is the next question that should be answered. So when you talk about comparative literature, usually it's got to do with the one of the answer to the so-called definition of the literature actually comparing one literature, one country, one nations, and other. Yeah. So this should help answer the question: how can Indonesian study other literature like English literature while also including the Indonesian literature in the studies? The thing that you can do is probably that in the research, in the study that we're doing, we should compare other literature to Indonesian literature. Yeah, I think this would probably work for either non-Muslims or Muslim literature. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a bit questions about who are we? What is our position as Indonesians and Muslim when we are studying other literature and other Muslim literature? It's kind of like, I think that position. So I think the implication is if we do this kind of research and comparing Indonesian literature and other literature, or Indonesian Muslim literature and other Muslim literature, then I think that Indonesian exists in the studies, although we don't study Indonesian literature. Yeah. So there are things that we are familiar with that we are, engaging in our study of others. Yeah? And the other advantage is that if we study English literature in comparison with Indonesian literature, we are actually also promoting Indonesian literature as part of the literature, because English literature is more famous, of course, it's more well known than Indonesian literature. And then third, in relation to international Muslim literature, comparisons between the international Muslim literature and Indonesian Muslim literature will help identify types of Muslim from different countries other than Indonesia. So this is the positions of Indonesian Muslim in comparison with others like Egypt Muslim, while it is probably not easy now to identify because there are, identities so mixed up. Yeah. So, but at least there are still, kind of like identity, Indonesian identity in studying Muslim literature. So what can we do with this? I think the curriculum in English department in Indonesia can be modified according to the needs of students, according to the model. Yeah. If we want to try to accommodate the number three, model number three, which include the Muslim literature in our curriculum, then we should also provide kind of like alternative routes for the curriculums. And that would mean that we have to include Indonesian literature, also in relation to the representation of Muslim literature in the curriculum. So while it is for English department and the curriculum should be about English department, but I think there is a possibility that we can include Indonesian literature in our curriculum. And this is also ways of promoting Indonesian literature as part of the Muslim literature. Yeah, both word literature and word Muslim literature. Yeah, I think that's it from for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pak Arif. So we have limited time. It's interested to be discussed from three speakers of them. And maybe I will open the first term for 3 questions. You can raise your hand, we'll call your name. Okay, some question have written on the text on the meeting chat, and or you can directly ask for the question with
Is it
raise your
fine if I
hand.
ask a question directly to them?
Raise your hand, Pak Jamarvin.
Okay. I raised my hand already. Is it fine if I start asking?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so taking you from Professor Sajouddin's idea about the different homelands, I'm interested in his idea or perhaps comments about the unequal experiences and distribution of Muslim diaspora in relation to their published literary works. Do Muslims experience the same dual marginalization throughout the global sphere as represented in their works? Or perhaps this would be better contextualized in terms of the Indian sphere where writers are writing back to the empire. So my second question would be to Professor Asma, might also be related to my question to Professor Sajouddin, since I believe that Muslim women's representation and experiences are unequal, not equal throughout the globe. Poor Muslim women's experiences might be different from working class and rich women's experiences. Literate Muslim women might be different than those who could not read and write, and so on. What are your comments in terms of women's intersectional struggle in expressing their identities in literary works after 9/11? And to Professor Muarif, I am interested to the Muslim literature written in English by Indonesian authors who might be globally positioned or locally stationed in Indonesia. How might it be related to the conceptualization of global Muslim literatures in English? Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, for the effective, I think the speaker can directly respond to questions.
Yeah. May I respond?
Yeah, first from Professor Sajouddin.
Yeah, thank you, Marvin. It is an interesting question that do Muslims face dual marginalization in almost every context, you mean? Do Muslims experience the same
Yes,
dual
yes.
marginalization throughout the global sphere as represented in their work?
Yes, yes, yes.
Dual marginalization mostly in the West, in the Europe, in America, and Canada, and Australia. Because this I tried to prove it through the various reports that were published by the IUSSP and also through my observations. But another important part of, for example, Yemeni, a person from Yemen migrating to Oman may not have the similar experience as compared to another Yemeni migrating to USA. So in this transnational context, not every international migration lead to diasporic experience, but migratory experience. I would also suggest you to read one of my articles, The Psychology of Diaspora, wherein I tried to emphasize on the idea of the formulation of diaspora society, not just by crossing the international border, but crossing the socio-cultural border, which is different from the socio-cultural setting of the migrant. I hope I was able to respond to your query. Is that okay? Marvin,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Regarding your second question, different homelands, idea about different homelands, I'm interested in this idea of perhaps comment. So, yeah, this is interesting. The idea of homeland for Muslim is, and the very idea of homeland is also sometimes very political. in the context of be it the formulation of Pakistan, be it in the formulation of Israel, but the idea of home is very natural, but homeland involves political interventions. But when we talk about when I talk about in the context of the diverse homelands or the various homelands for Muslims, that is also very practical, because for me being an Indian Muslim, I always consider India as my homeland. But if you look at the writing of, for example, Once in a Promised Land, or some writings like the contemporary Muslim writings from the America, I am forgetting the name of that text, but wherein the protagonist, I think The Girl in a Tangerine Scarf by Moja Kaf, she goes to America and she found America as her homeland. Then she goes to Hajj pilgrimage and she found Medina as her homeland. So that also varies from individual to individual, perception to perceptions. But in generally, Muslims have different homelands wherever they reside, but they could not and they are not able to identify the Western landscape as their homeland. But I would also underscore one important thing here. Not all Muslims in the West found or did not found West as their homeland. The natives of the Western societies still do believe, and they firmly believe, as I do believe, that India is my homeland. They do believe America or the Eastern Europe or other places as their homeland. So this idea is very diverse. I think we can, I hope I was able to respond to your question. We can have this exclusive debate on this later. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Jen. And then Dr. Asma.
Yeah. Would you please
can respond from John Marvin?
I read the question, but my internet connection went dead and came back. Would you please quickly repeat the question?
Okay, so perhaps my question would be what
related
comments in terms of women's intersectional struggle in expressing their identities in literary works after 9/11, because the experiences of women Muslims might be different, might be unequal. The experiences of a poor women Muslim might be different than a rich woman or a working class women Muslim, or a literate Muslim woman Muslim might be different than those who are not fortunate enough to study and learn how to read. So what are your comments in terms of their intersectional struggles post 9/11 in terms of their literary works?
I suppose, thank you. I got your point. I suppose that we need to focus on the situation of women in different areas, different communities separately. There are studies, for example, peer review about the Muslim women in American communities. They are studying the situation of Muslim women in American communities related to this idea of Islamophobic discrimination. But we need, as researchers and as scholars, we need to have a scope of to focus our interest of study on women in different parts, on separate studies, women in Egypt and in Indonesia, to highlight the different situation for different group of women in every community. And after reaching this, we can have like a common comment on the situation, the situation of all Muslim women in communities. You understand my point? To begin from down until we reach generalization.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Asma. And then Dr. Arif, and after that, a question from Dr. Darsan.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
No, Pak Arif want to respond from John Marvin questions first. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your question, Marvin. I try to see, I'll find out if there is some, like maybe some writers writing in English. Yeah. But unfortunately, I found only probably few. Yeah. The research that I did in the past is shows only one. Well, okay. Actually, there are probably few Indonesians writing in English. They might be in Indonesia or they might be in the UK, for example. That's from what I found. So in England, for instance, in the UK, I found maybe very few Indonesian writing in English, and they may not talk specifically about Islam. Yeah. So there was a story of Indonesian woman who married an Englishman, and yeah, and I tried to see how actually women and the story is portrayed as stronger than the British men, and that's interesting. Yeah, this is what I found, and then there is also story about children who wrote in English. I mean, Indonesian children, Indonesian child wrote in English, like stories. But yeah, mostly it's about UK's experiences. Yeah. But in terms of Muslims, Indonesian Muslim writing in English, I'm not sure. There is probably one, but this is not written in English. It's more like Indonesian novels translated into English. Yeah, as I understand it, it was Ayat Cinta, which is the verses of love, which is considered to contradict or counter against the satanic verses. So yeah, but unfortunately I haven't read that book now. It was told that it was translated into English, but I haven't read it until now. So, and the writer is now in Germany. He is pursuing a PhD degree, and I don't remember the university. I mean, if you might want to talk about the kind of like Islamic issues as viewed from Hinduism perspective, you might contact him. I mean, I can give you the contact. Yeah. Others is probably also some translated work from Indonesia, but not specifically about Islamic topics. So yeah. So this is, I would say, even the comparisons between Indonesian and English literature is probably new, kind of like new fields, if it will be conducted by anyone who's interested in this field. Yeah. So let alone if this is for Islamic literature of Indonesia or Muslim Indonesian literature in comparisons with like UK, US Muslim literature, it's probably not easy to do. Yeah, but it needs to be. We have to start it now because it's actually, I think, potential field for research in the future. Yeah, I think that's what I know so far. Very sorry if am I not give you
It's
a
fine,
happy
Professor. I understand. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Arif, you get the point. Okay, the next question coming from Dr. Darsan. Can you show your video, Dr. Darsan?
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
Sir, my question to Dr. Sajauddin. Sir have talked about Muslim diaspora in details. My question to Dr. Sajauddin is, what types of problems are faced by Muslims from India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Indonesia, and alien lands? Do they suffer the same problems? How they cope up with those problems in the foreign lands?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Darshan. Can you please repeat again?
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, I would like to know, because you have talked about Muslim diaspora in details in your paper, in your presentation. My question to you is, what types of problems are faced by Muslims from India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and other countries in alien lands, in foreign lands? do they suffer the same problems, and how they cope up with those problems in those foreign lands in different countries, in immigrant countries?
Yeah.
You
Thank you.
mean in literature context, Dr. Darshan?
Sorry?
You mean in literature context? What happened, how growing the literature over there?
Yeah, the people who have migrated from these countries to alien lands, the people, the immigrants, what are problems they face there? Maybe
Yeah.
people from India, Pakistan, the Muslim, basically.
I got your point. Thank you so much, Dr. Darshan. People from the, let us say, subcontinent, South Asian subcontinent, migrating to. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah. So let us say that you mean people migrating from South Asia to, let us say, Europe or America, including the Gulf countries. Although their experiences may vary, which is reflected in the novels like the Reluctant Fundamentalist or the Kite Runner, or some other novels, including the novels like The Arabian Dream by Nikhil Ramteke, an Indian, and similar novels like or the poetry. If you look at the literature produced by Muslims from the subcontinent who migrated to either to the Western countries or to the Gulf country, GCC countries, their experiences more or less same. They do face racial discrimination, the cultural racial discrimination in the West, but in the Gulf countries, the religion is same, the community is same, the people is same. Then what kind of problem do they face? So they face the problem of alienation. They face the problem of, home memories, nostalgia, the memory of home that they left behind, the loved ones, and so on, so things. If you look at the literature by Benjamin or Nikhil Ramteke or Deepak Unnikrishnan from the Indian context, this literature mostly talk about the experiences of Muslim as well as the non-Muslims from the India, from this region to the Gulf. So, and when it comes to migration of Muslims from this subcontinent to the West, Canada, America, Europe, and Australia, they face the dual discrimination, being immigrant at one time and being immigrant Muslim at the same time. So that has been reflected in the literature that is produced, and which is also proved and studied through the social sciences, through the empirical studies. I hope I was able to respond to your question, Dr. Darshan.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your answer, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Saujudin. Actually, so many questions can still asking for the speaker. However, unfortunately, we have limited time and we have to running for the other schedule. As a conclusion, that Islamic literature still have a huge, big space to be discussed. We can write, we can doing some research to influence our value as Muslim. And Islamophobia is something that can have to be faced by Muslim, and it's challenge for us. and no matter what, we have to face it as academic one. We have write it to encounter Islamophobia. The formulation that proposed that is also discussed in our department when the student doing their research. This is about English coming from United States or British, and we agree that finally it's like transposition. There is a safe that as long they speak English, you can do that. So I think that's the end of our discussion for this session. Give applause for our speaker all. And again, thank you so much for Professor Saljidin, Dr. Azma, and Dr. Arif for this session. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much.
And time is I give to moderator, Putri.
Thank you, Mr. Agus Suryadi. Yeah. Dear participants, please don't forget to fill up the attendance list. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joining into parallel session. Please kindly join into breakout room. For the presenters, please kindly enter your room and all participants can join the room with each sub-team's profile. Once again, kindly fill up the attendance and join the new Zoom link to our parallel session. Thank you. Dear ladies and gentlemen, once again, kindly fill up the attendance and join the new Zoom link to our parallel session provided in Zoom meeting chat. Thank you so much. Thank you.
To all participants, once again, kindly fill up the attendance list and join the new Zoom link to head to our parallel sessions. Thank you.
Kok suaranya hilang? Cockroaches.